My sister got married this summer, and I was thinking about that in preparing for this holy day, in the sense that I was thinking, what if a daughter or a son went to their parents and said, Mom and Dad, I'm getting married. And then what if the parent said back, that's great, I want to Skype in and make sure that somebody's there with a cell phone so I can watch your wedding. The son or daughter would be like, what are you talking about? You're not coming? No, I'll be there. I just want to watch on a phone, Everyone would say like that doesn't count, Dad, or Mom, that doesn't count as you being at my wedding, right? I think one of the things that comes up when we think about the assumption is, I think, the importance of being present in a bodily way, right? That means something. And I think, just looking at the feast for just a moment that we celebrate, when we say the assumption, we use that word because it means that Christ used his power to assume Mary, to bring her home with him, right? He desired to have Mary, body and soul, present with him in heaven. And I think a lot of times, and I fall into this as much as anybody else, as a priest, you look at the major events and then you say, okay, well, what was Jesus trying to teach in that moment? And what was Jesus trying to teach in this moment? And certainly everything that Jesus did has things that we can learn from it. And there are times where Jesus is actually teaching. He says, sit down and let me teach you, in the Sermon on the Mount. Here are the Beatitudes. Jesus is in instruction mode. But I think sometimes we get into the trap maybe of always trying to think that Jesus was doing everything just to teach, that was his main motivation. So he assumed Mary because he wanted to teach us things, and he, did this because he wanted to teach stuff. Maybe that's just me because I'm a school teacher, or that's what I went to college for, and maybe I just think that way. Maybe I'm projecting onto all of us my own issues. I don't know. But again, I think sometimes we think of Jesus as always teaching. And I think sometimes it's important for us to realize, though, that Jesus' motivating factor wasn't always first and foremost to teach in every instance. Maybe there were things that he's trying to teach us in bringing his mother home, but I think also it's just important to step back and say Jesus brought Mary to heaven because it's mom, right? Like he wanted to be with his mom. And it was perfect love said, I want to bring my mom home, and not just her soul, her body too, because having the body present is more, right? And so that's the motivating factor for him. And I think we can step back and maybe just appreciate it a little bit more, as opposed to always trying to just say, well, he was trying to teach us this or that. Jesus, out of perfect love, he is perfect love, and through that perfect love, he decided, I want to have Mom with me. So he brings her to him, body and soul. Now, I think for us, what we can recognize in that is the power, right? As we were saying as it was in that example of the marriage, right? If we think about it, like with the daughter and father, I'll just watch your wedding on the phone. I mean, we know, right, that being present in a bodily way matters. And we see Jesus again saying, I want my mom with me, right, completely. And yet sometimes we don't carry that out. We don't live that. What we know intuitively in our mind when we stop and think about it, yes, being present bodily is better and is almost like on an infinitely better level than just being there. I think we don't always allow that to guide us. We don't always allow that belief to guide our decisions. And so what does that look like? I mean, first of all, just on a human level, in our interactions with each other, sometimes we have all this technology and all these kind of things, but every sociological study shows that loneliness has skyrocketed in the 2000s, right? In a gigantic way. And I was out here on Sunday late afternoon. I had an opportunity to just kind of go on a walk and do a rosary around the about 5 or 6 blocks around here. And the sun was down, but it was still bright out, and a beautiful night. Didn't see one person outside, right? And I just think, I was thinking about that as I was walking around. I'm like, we're all lonely. We are all suffering. We all want to see, we all want to interact with people. We recognize that just chatting with people on the phone or, technology, Netflix, all that kind of stuff, that doesn't fill a need. It can only really be filled by having other people with us, and they're bodily present. And I don't even know if bodily is a word, but I'm just going to use it. Having other people be present to us in that way matters, right? But we don't always make decisions, nor do we always make the sacrifice to go be with other people, to literally bring our bodies there. We don't RSVP, we don't go to events. A lot of times we just, what can I do to avoid going to that thing, right? And so maybe we need to see, hopefully, remember that power of being present bodily. And then also, I think if we start to forget that, then we also start to maybe forget or lose sight of the fact that Jesus, not only does he bring his mother's body and soul with him into heaven, but he also then comes to be present to us in his body, right? And that's the whole deal here. That's why you've given up a noon lunch break, or given up an hour on a Thursday to come here, because you believe that Jesus is here in a bodily way, and that means more than him just being around you spiritually, right? There's all kinds of other studies that have come out recently talking about the plummeting of Catholic youth and young adults, that they don't even know that we believe Jesus is here present in a bodily way. Well, if you lose sight of that, it's really easy to see why they all walk away. Because if he's not here in a bodily way, and I'm not really then having this opportunity to not only be in the presence of his body, but also to even receive his body, then why not stay home? Right? I can pray out in the woods, I can pray on my couch. If this is just a group of people getting together to pray, that we're not in the presence of Christ's body, and that he's not giving his body to us, and that doesn't mean something more, then we don't come. Right? And it makes sense, really, kind of, that we don't. For us, we also, I think, in addition to just coming to Mass on Sundays and holy days, if we really want to develop that relationship and draw closer to Christ, everybody says that. We all say, I want to grow closer to God, I want to grow in holiness. Be present bodily to him. Bring yourself here on a regular basis to this church. It matters to come here. You can pray at home. I pray on the couch. I pray in the woods. I pray on walks. But I come here every day to be in the presence, to bring my body into the presence of his body, because it's different than anything else that we can do. And so I think our teenagers and our young adults, do we bring them to the church? Do we tell them that's why we're going? Because Jesus' body is present there. His body, soul, and soul, right? Blood, all of that, right? Do we tell our young people, no, that's why we're going. That's why you can't sleep in today. That's why I'm going to throw cold water on you like Father Hollowell's dad did if he didn't go to church. Because we're going to go see the body of the King of Kings. We're going to go spend time in his presence, and we're going to go receive him, and we're going to spend time and be changed because of that in our bodies too. That's what we're doing here. That's what the Mass is. That's why we're all called here. That's why Jesus, as he brings his mother home to heaven, is also desiring to pull you and I closer to himself and up into the mysteries of heaven as well. We pray that we might all recognize that human truth of the value of being present to people in their bodies and with our bodies as well, and also allow that to extend to our life of faith at the same time.